register now.
Hi students, a very warm welcome to the session. Today we're going to start with our chapter, The Story of Village of Palampur. I am Ankana, your master teacher for social sciences at Vedantu. Hoping all her bacha log are doing absolutely amazing. Do tell me guys, how are you doing? How was Diwali and how is it going? Chalo, let's quickly get started. But before that, a quick reminder of the Vedantu Pro subscription. As you know, all of these problems have now been sorted out with a lot of bonuses. The bonuses are that you're going to get unlimited live classes, in-class live performance reports, access to all the micro sessions, all the crash courses, and of course lots of personalized one-on-one attention by the class teachers and master teachers in the session itself, which will not let you have any doubts at the end of the session. With that comes a great news, which is of Diwali. So guys, it has actually been extended till 15th of November. It's not just till 11th of November. So today would be the last day. You can access 50% discount. The link is given in the description box. All you need to do is go on that link, choose your grade, your board, check out all the details, click on the get subscription button, and then you get 3 options of 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months. As you can see, even the biggest plan, the longest plan, the most expensive one is coming for just 5,749 rupees for 6 months. What else do you want? And how can you access this? All you need to do is use the code AKEPRO. This is my coupon code which you need to use. Go on the link, follow the steps. Link is in the description box. It is also pinned in the comments section. Now let's quickly get started with our chapter. Guys, today we're going to cover this is your index for today's session. Let's understand what are we going to talk about. So we're basically going to understand how production works in any place. Okay, what are certain factors of production? We will do this with the help of an imaginary village called Palampur. Now, in order to understand this whole setup and this whole working of productions, factors, agriculture, different sectors, everything coming together into perspective, we have taken this prototype of a village. Okay, we have just taken this imaginary example of this village called Palampur. Now, in order to understand the whole process or all the factors, all the steps, each and every detail, we need to understand the dynamics of this place, of this village called Palampur. So let's first understand what kind of a village is Palampur. So guys, the village of Palampur has around 450 families, and all of them are belonging to different castes. So it's a setup of a whole mixture of different castes, and caste somewhere is also influencing their economical classes or condition. So based on that, there is a certain division that exists in here. Now it is a well connected village. It is very well connected with its neighboring villages and the towns nearby. It has proper roads, proper transportation. Now if I talk about the division in terms of this family, there are around 80 families which belong to the upper castes, and they basically own majority of the lands over there, given to the zamindari system which used to exist earlier. Naturally, we know guys, people who belong to the higher castes are obviously more well to do, as well as they own more piece of assets and land, especially in villages. So naturally that differentiation, that setup is is visible here also, where 80 upper caste families are owning most of the lands in there. The rest of the family, which is the rest of the castes and the families, are basically going to have the rest of the lands. So naturally, now the other families, the amount of land that they have would be lesser compared to these families. At the same time, 1/3 of the population, so out of 450, around 150 of the families belong to the Dalit class. Okay, they belong to the Dalits, the lower castes, and as a result of which they kind of live outside the village, not exactly outside but on the outskirts of the village in much smaller houses. So this shows the typical caste system existence still pertaining in the villages. because the main part, see, anywhere, the outskirts, you could say that the boundary, or the area which is distant from the center, the main part of the village or town, is always not considered so developed. So over here we can see that the Dalits are living outside in the outskirts of the city, whereas the rich and higher caste families are not, right? At the same time, this is a village which is well developed, as I told you, in terms of transportation and everything else. Electricity had reached this village long back, as a result of which most of the houses, almost all of the houses, have electric connections. Now this is a village which also has schools and hospitals. They in fact have two primary schools and one and one high school, and the other one is and the hospitals, they have one primary health care center also, which is actually run by the government. It's a public hospital, and there is one private dispensary also, where the sick people, where the ill people are treated. Now guys, we see that the electricity connection has really helped and had a huge hand in the development of this village. It's not like, and in fact the people have also given contributed in that development. It's not just that electricity has come here and it is not being used by everyone else. It is being used for a proper development of the village. For example, for the purpose of irrigation, for the building of tube wells, etc. We will discuss about this in more detail ahead in the chapter. But we see that all these factors are being put together and are being used to develop the village. You can also see construction of schools already there, hospitals already there. So we understand this, that Palampur is a well developed village, right? And it's fairly developed with electricity, with hospitals, with schools and everything. And not just this, not just the roads are there. In terms of transportations also, we can see different kinds of transports, right from the bullock carts up to motorcycles, jeeps, tractors, trucks. Everything is visible on the roads of Palampur. Now let's talk about what work do the people living in this village do. Guys, normal setup, if you imagine, of India, the moment I say countryside, the moment I say village, what is the very first thing that comes to our mind? Farming, right? And the same setup is prevail over here also. Most of the people are actually engaged in the productivity of in the production of agricultural products. Basically they are engaged in agricultural activities. So the bigger chunk of this village is actually involved in farming activities. Now obviously this is not just farming activities, and not everyone does that. So what are the rest of the people doing? So rest of the people are doing work like manufacturing, transport, shopkeeping, etc. Now these jobs may or may not be indirectly related to agriculture, as a result of which a holistic development of the village in terms of work is happening. We see that people somewhere are also belonging to the primary sector, very few of them to secondary sector with small scale industries, maybe some small production houses, and there are also transport providers and etc. giving the service sector itself, right? So we see a mixture of all of that. Now let's finally talk about the organization of production. So guys, through this chapter we're talking about Palampur, this village in particular. We're going to learn that what are the different factors when production is happening that has a role to play. That's the focus that we need to have. So these are the factors of production: land, labor, capital and enterprise, right? So we know, as I told you, that the majority chunk of the people are actually belonging to the farming sector. So we need to understand that how do they function, how do they organize their produce, how does the whole system, whole process come into perspective and functioning in all together when put together. So guys, as I told you, these are the four factors which have a very important role to play. Now let's understand how does this function. Not just in village, in any, not just in the village of Palampur, but in any place of the entire world. So the very primary requirement is land, is that of land and other natural resources such as forests, minerals, etc. But primary is land, and you might be thinking, ma'am, how is land primary? Maybe labor, man, human is primary. Guys, no matter what you start, okay, no matter what you're producing, you have to have the land. That is why becomes, although despite of being a passive factor, becomes a primary very important factor. Now let me explain to you what is a passive factor, what do I mean by primary factor. So what basically happens, if you have to start anything, okay, you need a space to work. Now where is this space going to be built? That office, house, warehouse, storehouse, industry, factory, whatever you're gonna run has to be built on the land, right? So no matter if you have labor, no matter if you have your money, capital, no matter if you have your enterprise organization, all of that, if you do not have a land to set it up on, you are gonna fail. That is what makes it the first and the most important and primary requirement. Okay, see, all of the factors have a very important role to play, but this becomes a primary requirement, kind of the first thing that you need in order to set up the rest of the things. Okay, and it is a passive factor, but your passive basically means which cannot do things on its own, right? So land needs to be worked upon. You need to spend money in order to develop the land. You need to spend labor in order to develop the land. Land cannot do anything on its own when it comes to production. Something needs to work on it. That's why it's a passive factor, right? That is the very first requirement. Now I have the land, I have my setup. What after that? I have other natural resources also. Let's say I have water, I have minerals, whatever is required along with the land, I have all of it. But then I need the labor. Now guys, labor is the only active factor over here. Now of course enterprises also, but labor is the next factor which becomes very important and which is an active factor. See, human is what forms labor, right? And labors are active. Humans are active because they act upon their own. And now see, even if you have all the resources, labor also becomes very essential, because no matter if you have everything, you have the money, you have the land, all of it, you need someone to work on it. If you do not have anyone to spend their mental, physical energy on it, it is going to be useless, right? The whole thing is going to be useless. So that makes labor an active factor. So we need both kind of skilled laborers and unskilled laborers. See, skilled laborers are required to set the process right, to do a well organized work. But we also need unskilled laborers to do the menial jobs, to do the jobs at a lower wage. So all of these things is also required. So when it comes to labor, you need both skilled and unskilled laborers for your production. Then we have capital. Guys, capital is basically the input in terms of assets, in terms of money that is given into the process of production. Okay? So whenever you're producing at various stages of production, in order to keep it running, you need to keep putting in money. You need to keep investing into it in terms of different things, right? You sometimes may need some equipments, you sometimes may need some raw materials, you sometimes may need just the cash itself. And for all of this, you need to have that capital. You need to have that money in your hand. Now the capital is also of two types. Now what are these capitals? One is fixed capital, one is working capital. Fixed, as the name suggests, is permanent. So what happens, you actually spend once on this capital, in this type of capital, on this type of capital, and it gets fixed. When you own it, when you possess it, it is going to stay there for a good number of years. For example, machines, lands, etc., buildings, etc., right? You spend your money on it, you have generated an asset, and it's going to stay there for few years at least, if not just for a few months the least, right? And then we have working capitals, which is basically the liquid cash that you have to keep in your hand. Now these capitals kind of go hand in hand, both of them together, along with the process of production. Now see, at different stages of production, sometimes you may need to buy raw materials all of a sudden, sometimes you may need to buy seeds, sometimes you may need to hire more laborers. For all of this, you need to have some capital which may not have been anticipated in the beginning, but you need to keep inserting this kind of money on and on, right? That is known as working capital, which is used for the raw materials, etc., the money in hand that you keep to use all of a sudden at any point in time. Now the fourth the fourth factor is enterprise. Now before I get into that factor, I want you guys to understand one very important thing. When we are going through the process of production, we have these four factors playing the major role in the process of production and carrying it forward. But what is the purpose of production? What is the purpose of having all of these factors? Guys, the purpose of having all of these factors, the aim is to produce good quality of goods and services. good quality of products and services. It requires all of these factors to achieve this. Not even one factor can be removed. If you do it, the quality or the quantity will get affected. These are like the building blocks of your economy. It has to be there. Now I will move on to the fourth factor, which is the knowledge and the enterprise. So bacha, enterprise is basically, you could say, the know-how of doing anything, how to do anything. That knowledge, that skill, that technology, that organization is known as enterprise. So you may have seen a lot of businesses when running are known as enterprises, right? So basically the organization, the company, the business, the enterprise is what forms the fourth factor. Now this becomes very, very important because it kind of binds all the other factors together. It organizes all the other factors together. Even if you have land, labor, capital, and there's nobody who does not know how to use it, how to implement it, how to organize it all together, it's going to fail. Okay, so guys, as I told you, the purpose of the enterprise is to be able to put together the land, labor, and the physical capital and produce the output, to give out the production. This is also known as human capital. So money, in terms of money, capital, we have already seen, right? The working capital and the fixed capital over there. This is the human capital. Okay, in terms of the human knowledge and skills and ideas and planning is what we are going to use as the fourth requirement, which is also known as enterprise. Now, all of these factors are very, very important. You cannot exclude even one out of it. Even if one falls out, the whole system will fail. Right? Now we're going to discuss about the production in Palampur. We're going to discuss about farming in Palampur. Guys, one thing you have to remember, wherever farming is happening, wherever such activities, agricultural activities is happening, the well-being, the lifestyle, the living standards of the entire population of the whole village, and the same thing gets applied in Palampur also, completely depends on what kind of farming are they doing and what kind of production they are having and what is the quantity and the quality of production that they are producing. Okay, that will determine how they are. And as we know that most of the people, especially in this, Palampur, are actually engaged in agriculture. The main production activity is happening in this field itself. Although there are other activities which are directly and indirectly related to it, but we have to first focus on the most important activity that covers up most of the population of this village. Okay, so let's talk about land. Now see, there are few challenges when it comes to farming. How is the circumstances, how is the scenario here at Palampur? So where is farming done? Agriculture kahan hota hai? Where do you cultivate it? Okay, what is agriculture? Basically cultivation of crops, grains, different items, related natural resources, using natural resources, etc. Now this is done over where? On land. For all kinds of farming activities, you need land, right? So farming is, as we know, the main production activity here in Palampur, and it requires land. But there's one slight challenge, that land is fixed. Guys, land is a factor which is fixed anywhere. It's not just in Palampur, so that's what we are being explained over here. Land is a fixed factor. In fact, in the entire world, you cannot exceed the amount of land you have. It's one resource, it's one factor which is not flexible, it is fixed. Even in Palampur, right from 1960, there has been no expansion in terms of land because the boundary is limited, right? Where will they extend? If they extend, the Palampur extent in itself is going to increase, and that's not possible. The village boundaries is defined. So whatever land they have over there is completely fixed. Out of which 75%, if you talk about the population, 75% of the people are dependent on the land for their livelihood. See, people who are directly involved in farming activities, directly dependent on it. People who are indirectly involved in farming activities are also dependent on the land. If these farming activities are not happening properly, their work is gonna get affected, right? So at the same time, as I was telling you, that the amount of land is fixed, but the kind of land can be changed. So basically a lot of land pieces over here in the village were not cultivable earlier. They were wastelands, they were useless, they were not fertile. But eventually they have been converted into cultivable lands and can now be used for the production of farming activity. Okay, now is there a way one can grow more from the same land? Can we increase the productivity of all of this land? Can we increase the profit that we are making out of this land? Yes, We can. How can we do this? We can do this by using the process of multiple cropping, right? Multiple cropping, guys, increases the production, ultimately increases the produce, the yield, and increases your profit. Now, what is being done? So we'll take an example of what is being done in Palampur. What do we mean by multiple cropping? Guys, as the name suggests, it just means different crops are being cultivated on the same piece of land. So over here we see that during the rainy season, the kharif production of kharif crops are done. For example, jowar and bajra, that's what the farmers cultivate. Then potatoes between October and December. Moving on forward, there's in the winters, rabi crop is cultivated, which is wheat. Fields are sown with wheat. Now, sugarcane in one part of land is always growing and which is cultivated once a year. It's a seasonal plant. It is only cultivated once a year. So you can see different crops are being grown over here, and this is what is known as multiple cropping, right? Now, what is the main reason to grow three different types of crops? Why are these farmers trying to focus on growing so different types of crops? So guys, as I told you, the whole idea is to increase the amount of production, to make sure that it is producing more and more amount of ultimately the produce is going to be high, which is going to let them earn higher profits. So basically for higher profits. Now what are the factors which are helping them in doing this? So which basically now we're going to discuss what are the certain factors which will help in the higher production, which will help in multiple cropping, which will help in earning better profits. So if there is a well developed system of irrigation, it will definitely enhance the kind of work that is happening in terms of farming, in terms of the field. So that is one very important reason. Then we know electricity has reached Palampur long back, and in fact people are even using it for the development, for the advancement and different modern methods of farming. Right? So the whole system of irrigation from Persian wheels to electric run tube wells has now been seen as a transformation in the fields. Guys, Persian wheels were basically wheels which were earlier run manually by the farmers themselves or by bullocks, etc., to irrigate the field, to put in water in the field. But now there are tube wells, so all of these have now been changed. Now, after the mid-1970s, the entire cultivated area of 200 hectares was irrigated in Palampur. So, we have seen a shift because of this development. Now, we have already understood multiple cropping when more than one crop is grown on the same piece of land in the same year, right? In order to increase production, this is the most common method. In Palampur also, farmers at least grow two crops, if not more than that. If possible, they grow more than that also, especially when they are producing potatoes. Now, what is the traditional farming methods? Okay, now this is not just limited to Palampur, this is in general what happens. Okay, so till 1960s, the seeds that were used were not of very good quality. Okay, they were very traditional, very conventional kind of seeds being used, and the same kind of seed was being cultivated, sown on and on and on, as a result of which the same kind of production, the same kind of crop was also being cultivated. We understand that the kind of seed that was being used was not very high in quality, that would give you a very good quality of produce in terms of quantity also. So these traditional seeds, they did not even require a lot of irrigation. Okay, they required less amount of irrigation, as a result of which the farmers did not have to use a lot of they did not have to give in a lot of inputs in terms of irrigation, in terms of water, in terms of resources. Even now how we use fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides, all of these things for the better growth of production of crops, even that was not happening. Earlier, only natural fertilizers like cow dung and manure, natural manure, were being used as fertilizers. Now, all of these things were very easily, very readily available for the farmers at a very low cost. But will this increase the production? No, it will not. And is multiple cropping the only way to increase production? No, that is also not there. Improving technology, giving up old methods of farming, adopting modern methods of farming are also some things that can be done in order to increase production. And the same thing happened after mid-1960s till when? As you can see, mid-1960s, all of this was being used. But after mid-1960s, it changed. Guys, yield, as I was telling you that the yield was less, it's basically the amount of production the crop produced on a given piece of land during a single season. Now, how did this change? How did this after mid 60s changed for the whole of India, or you could say especially I mean like Palampur also, because of the Green Revolution which came in 1960s. With Green Revolution, the cultivation of wheat and rice completely changed. It changed the face of it. Now the seeds that were being used were not at all traditional. They were HYV seeds, which is high yielding variety seeds. Now guys, HYV seeds though gives a very high produce, but even that requires multiple factors along with it in order to give that high produce. It requires factors like plenty of water, some chemical fertilizers, pesticides in order to give the best result possible. However, it will give you a much higher amount of grain by single plant in the same amount of land. The yield will increase, but it requires all of these factors to be fulfilled. If it is not being fulfilled, it will fail. Even the high HYV seeds are not going to give you a high produce. As a result of this, it required all the farmers to break off from their old methods of farming and adopt the modern methods of farming. At the same time, they were required to have more and more working capital, initial capital along with them in the beginning of the process itself. Why? Because in the beginning itself, they required to buy HYV seeds, the fertilizers, the pesticides, insecticides, all of these investments in order to have a good yield at the end. And they did have good yield at the end, but it was initial capital investment was required. In fact, in Palampur also the yield of the wheat, which used to be 1300 kilogram per hectare by the traditional varieties, now went up to 3200 kg per hectare after using the HYV seeds after the Green Revolution. You can see it almost went up to 2.5 times, 3 times, right? So that is what the Green Revolution has done. But do you think this development has happened just like that? No. It has happened at a cost of certain thing, which is sustainability. Will the land be sustainable if we keep on going ahead with Green Revolution? Not at all. The scientific reports have clearly proved that the land had started degrading after Green Revolution got introduced because of the methods of farming that were being used. The exploitation of the resources, the exploitation of the land, overuse of all of it was degrading the natural resources base of the entire land and earth in general. Green Revolution though gave a very high yield, but it kind of destroyed the fertility of the soil because of overuses of it. Guys, in general, one simple factor, one single plant is going to give you so much of production. Naturally, it would require a lot of nutrients. Where will it take its nutrients from? It will take it from the soil, so that will naturally decrease the fertility of the soil. The nutrient level of the soil will go down. At the same time, we are using a lot of chemical fertilizers, we are using a lot of chemicals, not so natural things on the soil, that will also pollute the soil and cause its degrade its quality. Then all of these insecticides, pesticides, all these chemicals will exist in the plants in the soil. Whenever rain will happen, it will get washed out with the rain and will seep into the soil and go and get mixed up with the groundwater table. So it will reduce the soil fertility, it will pollute the soil, it will pollute the groundwater table also, groundwater level table also, and after that the rest of the water which washes off from the field and goes and joins some other water body will wash off all of these chemicals along with it and go and pollute the water bodies also. At the same time, guys, you remember I told you that the HYV seeds require plenty of water. When plenty of water is being used for irrigation, naturally the level of water will start degrading, decreasing and depleting. So this also reduced in the reduction of the water table below the ground. Now the whole balance was kind of shaken, and in fact the microorganisms in the soil, which is very important for natural decomposition, for natural composition of compost or manure, production of that, they also started dying because the overuse of these chemicals. So that was also something that led to the degradation of the quality of the land. Okay, so with this we understand that this was not very sustainable. Now if we have to understand, first of all, what is the distribution of lands in terms of the population of Palampur? How do they have the lands? Because most of them depend on farming, which means that most of them should also have lands to farm, but that is not the case. Okay, most of the people in Palampur do not have enough land to give them a good amount of cultivation, which will help them sustain themselves with a good quality of life. Okay, now if you see, if you remember guys, out of 450, 1/3 of the population were actually of Dalits, and mostly they are landless. Most of the Dalit families, which is 1/3 of the entire population, are actually landless, and they have to depend on the other landlords, on the other landholders in order to be employed. Although they work in the agriculture sector only, although they work in the farming sector only, but they depend on the other people. So they basically get hired as daily wage laborers or laborers in general for seasonal production by the other people who have large pieces of lands, and they ultimately work as daily wage workers only. They are paid in terms of how much work are they doing, which is not ever going to let them improve in terms of their economical condition. Now what about the major chunk of the land that is there? It is going to the high caste families, which is rich, and the rich are getting more richer. Most of the families, if you take the another higher chunk, they actually do not have enough land. They just have up to 2 hectares of land in size per family, which is not a lot. If the land is small, naturally the production will be less after cultivation, and that will not be enough for them. It will not be sufficient for them to survive throughout the year with good amount of money. 60 families of medium and large farmers cultivate more than 2 hectares of land. So you can imagine, out of 450 families, only 60 families is what have good amount of lands with them. Now with that, we have come to the end of today's session, guys. Kone kone se top aayega result. It is already happening. As you know, Vedantu is already producing amazing results in each and every corner, on each and every platform, and is giving the best online results. Now you can also be a part of this if this is what you want to do ahead. JEE Advanced, NEET, 10, 12, all of this we are rocking everywhere. You can be also a part of this. Master Scholarship admission tests have already started, people. It's happening every Sunday at 3 p.m. 25th October to 29th October is when it is going to go on. It is for grade 6 to 13. Please make sure to appear for this test. We are going to give scholarships up to rupees 100 CR, 100 crores. How awesome is that? And also enrollment for early batch of JEE and NEET repeaters batch has started. Please make sure to enroll yourselves. Now with that, we have come to the end of the session. Let's quickly look at your homework question. What percent of people are dependent on farming in the village of Palampur? 65, 75, 70 or 50? Do not forget to put your answers in the comment section, not just in the live chat. Also make sure to leave your comments of how did you like the session in the comment section, and make sure that you hit the like button if you understood the session and you liked it. I will see you guys with the next session very soon. Till then guys, stay home, stay safe, take good care of yourself. Bye bye. Have a great day ahead.